Hey, welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and today I've got another comment from one of you guys that I'm going to answer in the form of this Ask Swanky Cat segment. And today's commenter is, I think, somebody that probably hasn't seen enough of my videos to know that I do this Ask Swanky Cat segment, which is why I'm not going to put them on the spot and put them on the screen. I've also gotten questions like this kind of a lot over the years, or questions that are, I think, from this same type of person, and that type of person is a dirt bike guy, where I would consider myself a dual sport guy. And if you guys are unfamiliar, like I was to begin with when I bought my very first dual sport motorcycle after riding bikes like CBR 600RRs and other cruisers like a Virago 1100, you might not really realize how big of a difference there is between a dual sport and a dirt bike. I thought when I bought my first bike, the DRZ 400, that I was getting a dirt bike with a headlight, a taillight, and some signal lights on it that I could title and ride on the road. And while I suppose the DRZ is a little bit closer to an actual dirt bike than a lot of other dual sports are, most dual sports are set up for comfort and for longevity, where a true dirt bike like the RMZ 450 is intended to be basically thrown in the back of a truck or on a trailer and then taken to wherever the riding destination is, be it a motocross track or a trail specifically designed for off-highway motorcycles in the woods. So bikes like this have a much higher ground clearance, much higher pegs than a bike like the DRZ 400. Their seats are also much flatter and allow you to sit much further forward on the tank, so you can get a lot more of your weight over the front wheel. And I was actually surprised to see that the handlebars are in basically the same exact location between the DRZ 4S and the RMZ 450 here. In general, most dirt bikes have their handlebars a little bit lower, again, to kind of help you get your weight over the front wheel. But even beyond that, a dirt bike is going to have a much better power to weight ratio. The RMZ here makes about 52 horsepower, where the DRZ 4S makes somewhere south of 40 horsepower and weighs somewhere around 340 pounds, where the RMZ 450 here weighs just a little bit over 240 pounds. And while their engine's displacement is obviously a little bit different, the main difference between a dual sport engine and a dirt bike engine is that a dirt bike's engine is designed to be ridden really hard for a very short period of time, where a dual sport rider wants an engine that's going to last much longer because they're needing to take it on much longer rides on the road to get to their trails off-road, and they don't want to have to change oil every time they take it out for a ride. And of course, there are some dual sports that have shorter service intervals and are a little bit more higher strung, like a dirt bike, but there are also some, like the KLR650, that's really slanted a lot more towards the on-road side of things and is meant for long-range riding. I don't recall the exact valve clearance numbers on that bike, but I think it's somewhere over 10,000. It's either 12, 13, or 14, and that might vary a little bit depending on the generation that you're talking about. But in general, most dual sports are really meant to be a bike that is ridden on the road at least 50% of the time, if not more. I consider myself a little bit more interested, well, not really a little, a lot more interested in the off-road side of things. And I like to ride everything from muddy two-track to kind of a little bit more difficult single track, and that's what I'm building the XR650L and the DR650 to hopefully do. And I basically want to be able to be comfortable on the road, comfortable enough that I enjoy it, and then comfortable enough and have the bike be capable enough off-road that I can also enjoy that and get down, well, just about any trail that I find. And I think if you're a dual sport guy, you probably totally get that. But if you're a dirt bike guy, or you were a dirt bike guy and now you're riding dual sports, or I suppose if you're a dual sport guy that's just lucky enough to live close enough to trails that you don't really ever have to do a ton of commuting on the pavement, or at least not at higher speeds, you probably look at my big bar risers and my giant windshields that block my view of the trail as a really kind of silly thing to do. But because of my location and location of my trails, I need to ride on the road for about an hour, both to get to my trails and then to get back home at the end of the day. And because of that, I'm willing to basically get rid of the shook up feeling that an hour or so of wind fatigue can kind of give you after riding around on the pavement for that amount of time, even if it means it's going to make it a little bit harder to see the trail. But off-road, this is not in my way at all. I mean, as soon as I stand up, I can see right over it. Even if I'm just kind of straightening my back out a little bit, I can see so much more. But I mean, as soon as I get up in the air, I mean,
it just disappears. It's like it's not even there.
And regarding the aftermarket fat bars and the conversion risers that I'm putting on these builds to sort of get the bars a little bit higher up and a little bit further away from me, I definitely understand and agree that they're not putting me in the ideal location for hardcore off-roading. However, I'm trying to build something that I'm going to be able to ride for a long period of time out on the road, and with a decent amount of off-road mixed in there. So with my back issues, I want something that is going to be just a little bit further forward and maybe even a little bit higher up. In general, I think a lot of dual sport guys do really try to make their bikes somewhere in the neighborhood of what I'm trying to do with mine, making them comfortable, enjoyable on the road. But of course, we're doing that with the understanding, or we should be doing it with the understanding, that that is going to degrade off-road performance, and we're just willing to make that compromise and that sacrifice. I personally would much rather have a comfortable, enjoyable bike to ride on the road, regardless of whether I'm taking it to the trails or just into town to pick up a pizza or some milk or whatever other weird thing I can figure out to bring home, possibly 5 gallons of gas on the rear rack. And for the majority of the mods that I've done, I don't personally find any real big issues, or at least not a big enough issue yet anyways when I'm off-road to, well, throw off that compromise balance. Anything that I've done so far, I'm more than happy with the on-road performance enough that I don't really care about the amount that it degraded my off-road abilities on the bike. And really, what I'm building isn't a dual sport anymore. They're dual sport adventure bikes, which is why I've sort of been calling them that, because they're really not dual sports. They are supposed to be, well, more like an adventure bike, but I prefer the lighter weight of the dual sports, which are the both bikes that I have right around 350 to 370 pounds versus 460 like my KLRs were. And there is, like I've said in a lot of videos, quite a bit of compromise just going to a lighter bike when you're on the road, because it's a lot easier to get blown around. You don't feel nearly as solid. But again, you have to buy and build a bike to sort of your specifications and to match the both on-road and off-road riding that you'll be doing. And that's why I think it's extremely important to watch videos like mine or anybody else's that puts out content on these bikes, so you can really get a feel for what the bike is specifically designed to do and where it excels, and then you can decide if that fits your needs, and also understand what you might need to do to make it fit your needs better. And I think a dirt bike guy is probably going to have, honestly, a lot more difficult of a time finding the perfect mix. And maybe that's incorrect. I mean, I suppose it could really go the other way as well. But it seems to me that a lot of the guys that see what I do really don't quite get it and look at me a bit sideways. And I totally agree with you and totally understand that. A lot of it, like I said, doesn't really make sense for an off-road bike. But that's where, again, you have to realize that I'm not trying to build a dirt bike. I'm trying to build a dual sport adventure bike. So that means there's going to be compromises on the road. That means there's going to be compromises off the road. But essentially what I'm doing with these builds is trying to find that sweet spot for me or for somebody who does the same or similar enough type of riding. Hopefully that has been helping a lot of you guys out. I know a lot of you guys are pretty excited about the builds that I'm doing and have tried to sort of gear your bike in a little bit more the direction that mine have been through the mods and stuff that I'm showing you guys. And I definitely appreciate it when you guys use the affiliate links to make your purchases. And I have to say a huge thank you to all of you guys that have been doing that. Of course, a huge thanks to my channel members who help me out each month. I would not be able to do this without you guys. So huge thanks to you, and huge thanks to anybody that comments on the videos, hits the like button, and shares the videos. All of that is a huge help and makes a big difference and allows me to keep making videos like this, which I absolutely love doing. So huge thanks to all you guys out there. Hopefully that cleared some things up and made sense to you guys. If it didn't, feel free to let me know down in the comment sections if you have any further questions, or if you have a question that you think would be good for this segment. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out and enjoy this beautiful world God created any chance you get. And hey, if you can't do that right now, here's more videos to check out in the meantime. Catch you guys on the next one.